And we are back on this Friday morning for a segment we have been waiting for. But before I do that, just want to remind you, get out to Preston's Highway 72 for those great Christmas gifts. All right, Frank Morales, you've been with us you've been up here once before, but we've mentioned your name on TV quite often. As you know, we've actually both been in your class.
Yes.
And we let the viewers know we have been in an anger management class. First of all, I want to say, do you think people are afraid to admit that they have participated in an anger management class?
I think in the past a lot of people would be ashamed of saying that, but I think nowadays it's even sometimes sort of trendy to say that I've been to a class like that, because I think some people, realize that they have some issues with that.
Dealing in society today, and internet and teenagers and whatever it may be, divorce rate is much higher than it used to be.
Yes.
That actually causes a lot of anger between couples. And do you think that their communication skills lack how to handle that anger toward each other?
Well, I think a lot of times it does, because a lot of times what happens is we go to our base emotions very quickly, and let's face it, a lot of times we've been taught to hide emotions. Like, first of all, anger is a secondary emotion, comes primarily from hurt and fear, and a lot of times people don't want to show you those base emotions, so they use anger instead to communicate. And let's say that we've been doing that for a long time, so whenever we have a problem, we just communicate out of anger, and then we think that you're supposed to be listening to us. Immediately when someone approaches you in anger tones, you're completely turned off. So that person's not listening to you. You get mad because they're not listening to you. You get into the vicious cycle.
And
that's how things start. It just continues on and on.
Absolutely. Every single person born feels anger. It's how you react is what you teach in your class.
Right. Remember, anger is an emotion. It's the behavior that follows that's the problem. It's how you deal, how you express your anger. We're all going to get angry, but if your behavior that follows is that you're popping off, and you're popping off in a way that, you're starting to interfere with other people's rights and things like that, that's the problem with it.
But I'm going to stomp my feet because I'm mad. They made me do it.
Oh, yeah, and that's what we call the third grade excuse. You made me do it, or something like that. And we talk about that in class, is that you don't accept that kind of behavior out of a child. If a child starts stomping or jumping on the couch and all, and then you're there with the child and you say, well, why did you do that? And they say, he made me do it. If you don't accept that from a child, why do you accept that from an adult?
If someone comes to your class and they're explaining what made them mad, how they reacted, how do you get that person to understand, look at yourself, look how you're acting?
Did you just say justifying why they were doing it?
They feel justified to be mad.
Yeah, that's the whole point, justifying why you do it. So when someone talks about what happened, here's the part. They say, this is what happened. I did this. And then they said, but, and that but is where you make them stop. I did this. And what you get them to see is, let's just be responsible for our behavior, and let's just take this part right here and say, okay, now, is this how you react to every situation? Oh, no, just in this one. So if someone says, I hit someone, or I did this. So if a 3-year-old did this to you, would you react the same way? If your grandmother said this to you, would you react the same way?
Good point.
Or whatever. And so if the answer is no, then so you do have control in certain situations. So then let's practice that control over here.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then, of course, something I talk a lot about is that Q-tip, which is an easy acronym to remember, which is quit taking it personally. And a lot of times if you can do that, because there's situations where people try to push your buttons, if you can just sit up there and learn to not take something personally, then you find out that you can establish control. Because that's the beauty of the situation, when you can control yourself.
Well, let's challenge everyone watching this morning. Christmas holidays. A lot of times you're around family members or friends that maybe you don't want to be around. Maybe this year you can watch how you react to make another person react right back. So let's maybe not be so ugly and try to break the cycle. Do you think if we say to everybody, just be aware of the way you're acting, and if you can see yourself the way you're acting, will that help someone get it?
Yes, a lot of times. See, we have to be honest with ourselves too. We push people's buttons.
You're fighting back and forth.
Right. We don't like to admit that we ourselves are the button pushers, and we say things that we know are kind of inflammatory, and we're going to get on somebody's nerves, and then they in turn react in kind, and then we can't take it.
Jamie's like taking photos in the background. I'm about to get mad at him. What about you?
That's Jamie, so you have
Okay.
to understand him and how he is.
I've learned how to react with Jamie quite well.
Yes, see? And so because
Yeah.
you know who he is, then you know that he's going to do these type of things, and then you say, I choose not to react to him because that's just who he is. He's not going to change.
We met
but
a-
I can change how I react to him.
We
No,
met
I
a,
ain't
we
no
met a
Jamie.
lady.
No.
We were out shopping and we met a lady. Well, met several ladies, but one of them was a huge Auburn fan, and of course Jamie digs, about Alabama and everything like that. And she's like, I just listened to him for entertainment. So that was how she reacted. So that
Right.
was great. I met another lady yesterday who. There's so many divorced couples out there.
Yes.
If you have teenagers that are not getting along with a divorce, either the husband or the dad or the mother,
Yes.
do you recommend that they get in there to talk to your class to talk to you and how to deal with their anger?
Definitely. What happens a lot of times with people going through divorces is there's situations where kids are put into the middle, and sometimes they take sides. There used to be a term that we don't like to say too much, but we call it alienation at times, where we think a parent has aligned a child with them. But a lot of times kids on their own decide to align themselves with a certain parent because of the things that they've seen. And what happens is they, in turn, are strictly against the other parent. Now, in doing so, there's some things that can happen later on in life that this can be a problem. Because if you learn to disrespect one parent, a lot of times 40 or 50% of kids can sit up there and they can put that in perspective and say, okay, that's an isolated case, and I still can respect other adults. But then there's another group of kids that if I've learned to disrespect this parent, I can learn to disrespect other authority
Anyone.
figures. Yes, I can do with teachers, I can do it with the police or other people, because I said, you're not my dad, you're not my mom, I don't have to listen to you. And that carryover effect you see a lot of times in our society today, because they've learned already that I'm going to put myself equal to a parent level at a very early age. And that's not what I think the concept was when we first had that child disliking the other parent.
No, because when you were together and married and so thrilled when the baby was born, you both had the same direction for the child, and then
Yes.
that's torn. Do you think the biggest problem with divorced couples are they're thinking of themselves and not putting that child first?
Sometimes in the battle for divorce, the kids get left behind because at that point, everybody's at their different points of righteousness. The divorce battles sometimes are very, very adversarial. The court system as it is such, and we do have, attorneys and we have judges that are very much pro-family and are trying very much to take the adversarial nature out of it. But a lot of times what happens when we have custody battles and we have large finances to divide, what happens is it becomes a long, drawn-out process. And during that process, the negativity sits in, and once that sits in and we have these
Hard to
different
stop.
points, it is hard to stop.
All right. Well, Frank, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Okay,
It's
thank
going to
you.
end quite easily, isn't it?
Yes.
No Mr. Cooper in the background. I do want to say this. How can people get in touch with you? Obviously, I know Family Services is going to be closed for the remaining part of the year soon.
Well, we're going to close actually on the 24th before we're
24th.
open until then.
Okay.
And let's say we offer a variety of services. We have wonderful counseling down there. We have a lot of
Great.
family programs and things. Our director is Jerry Johnson, is a great man. We
Just call your office to set up
call
an
our
appointment?
office 551-1610 in Huntsville.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we still have to talk football, too. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Local and love